What up? What up? What's up, my good peeps? Thanks for joining me. It is July 8th. We are live from Toronto, Ontario. I'm Steve Stacks, in case you don't know, music producer, singer, songwriter, composer, and more. Thanks for kicking it with me. We're going to dig into some serious stories that are breaking today. To start off, this is possibly the biggest news of the year. Rcmp charges military members allegedly plotting to form a militia and seize land. So as long as I've been alive, or as long as I've been following the news, I've never heard this. Now, I'm sure it's probably happened in the past and nobody's been arrested before, but now we have confirmation and proof that there are Canadians in the armed forces that are plotting to take over land and possibly try to, I don't know, I guess take over the government, plan a coup. I don't know what's going on here, but they had a lot of weaponry, to say the least. Now, I'm not going to dig into exactly, what type of weapons or how many weapons, but you can see just by this photo here, there's, just probably like 5 or 6 different types of weapons right here. A 2-year investigation. So if they've been watching them for 2 years, I guess the possibility that they could have, stopped them in the process of doing this. At what point did they decide that, it was a good time to jump in and do something about this before they actually, attempt to do this coup or whatever, take over land. I don't know how they're going to take over. It's take over land with force, but are they going after government officials and government personnel, or are they just going to blaze down the whole town? I have no idea what the exact manifesto was, but as of right now, 4 people have been arrested. Now, this statement here, or this report, looks like it was updated 2 hours ago, but I literally just listened to a video, watched a video, and it said 4. So I think they're keeping one guy hush right now, but here it's showing 3 Quebec men, so maybe there is a 4th person and they're not from Quebec. But as you can see, and in the small writing below the image here, the photo, 16 explosive devices, 83 firearms, 11,000 rounds of ammunition, nearly 130 magazines, 4 pairs of night vision, and military equipment. So yeah, they were saying that they did have bulletproof vests and armored gear. So what that consists of, I don't know. Probably helmets, shields, bulletproof vests. Here it is. A 4th individual, Matthew Forbes, of Pont Rouge, Quebec, faces charges including possession of firearms, blah, 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 blah. The men appeared in court virtually on Tuesday and remain in custody. Their next court date is July 14. It goes on to show some images of these guys with weapons. I guess this is part of a video. Shows them training. I guess it was a good time to jump in and make the arrests because every day that goes by, apparently these guys are recruiting, and here's their Instagram. And this is apparently what they were saying is the recruiting section of the militia. Said the seizure is the largest cache of weapons and components in any terrorism incident in Canadian history. See, I knew it, man. This has to be a first. Like, I've never heard of this type of detailed operation or this type of intricate operation. And they obviously had walkie-talkies as well. It looked like it was going to be very coordinated, and it was the attack, or the land that they wanted to seize was apparently in downtown Quebec City. So whether it was a small parcel of land, big parcel of land, that remains to be seen or heard. But this is absolutely alarming for us Canadians and our Canadian armed forces. How many of them have been radicalized at this moment, right? So it's definitely very alarming, and 2 of them are active members, okay? Or were active members. Not were, but, they are currently active members, and obviously they're not going to be put back into their positions after this. So you can use past tense as well, but 2 are active members, and I believe the other 2 were former Canadian Armed Forces military. So that is some serious news in Canadian news today. Very unexpected. Here's some more of the weapons. These guys were ready to throw down, man. It's crazy times, and this is just all related to crazy times, right? Like, USA has this problem as well, right? But it's a sign of the times, is what I'm saying, right? Now let's hear what this Rcmp officer, is this officer? Agent. Let's see what she has to say about this question. Do you believe more of the military has been radicalized or has this ideology? And she goes on to say she does believe that there are more that are radicalized right now. So I don't know how she's gonna, or how the Rcmp is gonna be able to investigate, and not only investigate, but to actually incriminate people for either, when you have an ideology, it's hard to slap a charge on that. Ideology is not really illegal, right? And even if you can find a charge somewhere for, terrorism, conspiracy or something like that, like, planning something like that. I guess planning, it could be a hefty charge, but ideology is not going to get you 20 years in jail. And even then, these guys, I heard, are facing 14 years maximum. So if we're talking about a 20-year-old, that person with that ideology will be getting out at 34 years old. and they'll be getting right back into it, right? They're not going to just get out of jail and then not want to do this ever again or not have that ideology still, right? So it's very concerning and very alarming. Us Canadians, we all knew there, there could be, a bad apple or a bad group that, ends up being radicalized or, hates the government, and, you know, it's just a matter of, what's the word here? It's just a possibility. Whenever you have, mass amounts of people, they're not all gonna have, a straight nose. Some people are absolutely gonna be wanting to do, terroristic things to a government. Not everybody agrees with the government, and there is no real pleasant way of saying, hey, I want to overtake this government. You can do it the legal way and try and become a prime minister or a candidate here or a candidate there. But these guys just want to go straight to the takeover, without any of the democracy or any of the, voting type of process, and go through all that. And maybe they're not even, they don't even have the backing to run for prime minister, or they don't have the qualifications. So this is basically their only option if they want change, whatever they were looking for. I don't know what they were planning on doing with that parcel of land. I don't know how you can take over Canada. Maybe it starts small. You take over a piece of land here and you hold it down, and then you radicalize a whole bunch of other people, and slowly but surely, I guess, land starts to grow bigger and bigger and bigger until, I don't think it was going to go anywhere, even if they did do this plan. But there was no doubt there would be deaths involved. And it just goes, again, with the sign of the times. I believe people are more on edge with everything, topics and financial status situations now. So, people are not at ease more nowadays. I think they're more on edge. So that goes with our Canadian Armed Forces as well, right? Like, people are not happy with a lot of situations and a lot of policies and a lot of anything. Just more opinion nowadays and more brainwashing nowadays, and it's a matter of time, right? Like, not everybody is going to follow a straight line all the time, right? So I thought that was very important. I'm sure we're going to get more information out, but I would definitely expect to see more arrests somewhere down the line, maybe a year in, maybe another 6 months, whatever it is. But it's definitely not over, and I expect to see a lot more from this topic. But let's hear what she says about
that there could be more individuals involved here.
Well, we know that because of the Instagram account, that there are more people interested in that ideology. We know that that ideology is an issue in Canada right now, and it's something that we worry about and that we look into. So it's not a case that will fix the problem. It is really a societal problem. And what makes that ideology very complex is that it's not a one belief ideology. So when people are frustrated about something, they add their own frustrations and grievances to the ideology. They take a little bit of what they want from anything. So in this case, we're talking anti-authority, anti-government, but quite often it's mixed with, could be misogyny, racism, and then that becomes the ideology, and then proving and showing that ideology becomes very different because it's individualized.
We assume that there were, of course, agencies involved here. And
then she goes on to ask, like, pretty much classified questions here, or classified answers that she's not going to get over the air. But more to come, right? Like, this is absolutely a disgrace to our Canadian armed forces. You know, this is something that's definitely going to overhang over our Canadian armed forces for at least another year or more. But this is not a good look for Canada as a whole right now. Even though it only involves 4 at the moment, it's just it's definitely a black cloud over Canada as a whole here, and hopefully they get more answers, and hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. But at this point, it's pointing in the wrong direction here. And yeah, also, they did, I don't know, maybe through text message comments and stuff like that, they said Chabot had made about the federal government. So he made comments about the federal government, and then then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He described those comments as almost treasonous. So it doesn't say they were out to kill him, but definitely that's what they're implying to me right now. Like, they were probably planning on whacking him, even though he wasn't the prime minister anymore. It looks like they were out they were out for his blood. So on to other news. In case you guys all haven't heard, Donald Trump has imposed 50% tariffs on copper, 200% on pharmaceuticals. So, you know, this guy is just not stopping here. He's going full out, full send. He really wants to cripple Canadian economy here and not lend a hand, right? It doesn't look like he's trying to lend a hand to Canada in any shape or form. Because the only thing we've gotten from Donald Trump since the beginning of his presidency is hatred towards Canada, right? Like, this is not normal. If you're gonna change a tariff, you change it 1-2%, maybe 5%, right? When you start changing 25, 50%, 200%, you know, that's when you're trying to inflict, you know, major problems for our economy right now. So there it is, folks. Like, Donald Trump and the tariff talk, and Mr. Tariff Man, as I like to call him. I call him Mr. Chump or Chump, and I call him Tariff Man. Now, Tariff Man, he's back at it. He's fucking doing all these stupid fucking tariffs to Canada again. First it's steel, you know, then it's what else? Aluminum, copper. Why not impose them all at once, right? That's another question. Like, I'm sure in the back of his head, when he was thinking about, you know, imposing a tariff on steel, he probably already knew he was going to do a copper tariff to us, but he's doing them all sporadically, right? Instead of just going, you know what, I'm going to tax the shit out of Canada, 50% copper, you know, 50% steel, 50% this, 50%, all one day. I don't understand why he's branching out and doing it, you know, one day here, one day there. You know, and a week later, I'm going to do copper. I don't get his ideology or his thinking here, and it's got us confused as well.
More tariffs are on the way from the U.S. president, this time targeting copper imports.
Now, today we're doing copper.
Copper, what would that tariff be on? The section tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
Now, it is unclear when the tariff on copper will come into effect, but it would mark the fourth across-the-board levy Trump has imposed during his second term. Copper is a crucial component in electronics, machinery, and cars, which could become more expensive if and when the tariff is imposed. Trump has also signaled his intention to enact other sector-specific duties, including on pharmaceutical imports.
And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here, now they all left. They went to other places because we allowed, people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals.
Now, according to a news report from CBC, they said Canada will reflect for another, 12 or 14 days. July 21st is when we're going to make an official statement or an official move that will probably be a tariff against the Americans. So be prepared. On July 21st, we should see a reciprocating tariff against the United States. Now, I don't think Trump understands what he's fucking doing, okay? I've been saying this about Trump for, I don't know, for quite some time now. So Trump thinks the smart thing to do is tariff Canada, okay? That's how he's going to make easy money, okay? Now, the problem with that is he hasn't looked at his tourists, the Canadians going to USA. Now, obviously, Canadians have been taking vacations in USA since the beginning of time, okay? So, do you really want to risk losing all that money from vacations and tourism? Now, we take a look at how much money Trump could be possibly losing out on. And if you really think about it, if he makes an extra, whatever it is with the tariffs on steel, okay? Now he's increased his profits 25%, okay? But maybe Canada starts doing other trade partners for steel, so now the amount of steel coming into USA might not be as big, right? As much. So that 25% increase in profit might not be that much anymore because the overall amount of steel that's coming into USA might not be that much, right? We might not be importing as much anymore. But is it really worth it to cripple your tourism cash or your tourism profit? Because as we take a look here, it's got to be one of your number one incomes, right? Canadian travel to US dropped sharply in May 2025, with vehicle entries down 38.1% and air travel down 24.2%. The decline follows new US tariffs and stricter immigration rules, pushing more Canadians to visit other countries. So as Trump tries to make easy money here, there's going to be a flip side to that, right? And now your tourism income is way down, right? So in the end, it kind of balances everything out. If anything, the pendulum might actually be in Canada's favor more than your favor. Because now you took away two things. Trump took away two things. The amount of steel probably coming in, right? Now we're going to reduce that. So there's not as much money to be made. Even if you increase the tariffs, 1,000,000%. At some point, the Canadians are not even going to ship it over there because it's such a fucking whacked price. A whacked fucking tariff, right? Like, it's not even worth it in the end. And two, you're losing out on, mass amounts of tourism income, right? So that's just in May. You would think as the months go on, more and more people are going to be reducing their trips to USA, right? A 10% drop in Canadian tourism could cost the US $2.1 billion in spending. That's $2.1 billion revenue that would have went to the US. Okay? And it says 140,000 jobs per the US Travel Association. So I guess they would have to hire more people, or they're saying that there might be 140,000 job cuts now. Who knows? So, in all of 2024, 25% of their income from Canada would have been 20.5 billion, right? And yeah, it was 140,000 tourism related jobs would be at risk. It's pretty sad what he's doing to his own people, right? He's trying to create an embargo act, and in the process, he's looking like a fucking idiot. And in the process, he's costing, the potential to make 20.5 billion a year in tourism, right? And that might even be a guesstimate too. Those are not exact numbers, but within 20.5, 21 billion, maybe even 22 billion. It's in or around 20 billion. That's for sure. My question to you guys is, where does it stop, right? He's now hit up all our metals. He's hit up our lumber. Where is the next tariff going to be? I don't believe there's anything else really to tax us, or, it's there's not much left. These are pretty much the main industries and main materials, right? That you can really tax the hell out of us. Or I think to me personally, I think the next step would be to raise each one. So tariff on steel would probably go up to 100% at some point, and the same with copper and all those other things. He would probably go to 100%. And once he does that, it's like that's. There's no real, what's the word? Patching up, right? I don't know how you're going to patch up that type of relationship. It's already pretty torn apart, right? Like, Trump is he already said he cut off full trade talks with Canada. So this one here, there is no, I'm sure there's a very little, like they're trying to talk to Ludnick there, okay? But Ludnick, he probably gets, one or two sentences in and is like, you know what? Trump told me I can't talk about anything anymore, right? So it doesn't really go anywhere after that. So they're not really at a table, or they don't really get on the phone and say this is a 20-minute, 1 hour discussion strictly about tariffs. He will not entertain a tariff discussion with Canada ever again, right? So the only thing that's going to come out of Trump's mouth about tariffs is, he's raising more tariffs or he's creating new ones. So it's a dead end right here with Trump. There's no other way of going about this, of looking at it. It's a done deal, and that's it. Canada has to live with it, unfortunately, and I think Canada is going to start retaliating with some major tariffs here. And I think the first couple sectors are probably, major industries here, and might even go over into the hydro and energy sector here, which I don't know how Trump would react to that, but at some point Canada is going to have to unleash some major tariffs, and it's probably going to be with the hydro, and I believe also with the oil, right? So we will see here in the coming days and weeks what Canada and Prime Minister Carney, plans on doing here, because no more Mr. Nice Guy. I don't even know how, I can easily see that digital service tax coming back into play here. Just because Canada dropped it, doesn't mean that we can't re-implement it and do it. So, we might just hit them up with 3 or 4 or 5 all in one day, and I don't know how Trump is gonna take that, but he's gonna have to take it, because Canada's not just gonna sit back and take these tariffs. And think about it, guys. 25% is crippling, right? 50% is beyond crippling, right? So at some point, Canada has to really protect itself here and make sure that our economy doesn't go into a full-blown recession, because we're already teetering on a recession here just from the steel and lumber, and he hasn't even attacked all our major sectors or industries yet, and Canada's already teetering on recession, and who knows what will come out of this, but it's not going to be anything good. I can guarantee you that. And Trump is just creating absolute chaos over here. And here's some videos that I made. Hope you guys enjoy these. 50% tariffs on fucking copper? What are you trying to do to us, man? What a piece of shit Donald Trump is. 50% tariffs on fucking copper? What are you trying to do to us, man? Just 2 words for Trump. Constitution, no respect for your own people with the health care and the needs like the SNAP coupons, and it's incredible, man. This guy just doesn't stop, man. He just goes. Especially after Prime Minister Carney stopped the digital services tax for him. So we're scared pretty much to levy any tariffs against USA. And meanwhile, we retract our tariff, and this guy fucking gives us a 50% tariff thank you to us. 2 words for you. Fuck you. 2 words for you, Trump. Fuck you. All right, guys. That was me reporting on today's breaking news in Canada. Canadian news. I'm Steve Stacks. Thanks for kicking it with me. July 8th, sorry, July 9th. Now it's July 9th, but this is July 8th. Breaking news. Thanks for kicking it with me. If you like what you see, hit the like, subscribe button. Stacks out.